The space station was busy that day. Thousands of aliens walked through the wide corridors, talking in strange languages and making deals worth millions of credits. Nexus Prime was the biggest trading station in this part of the galaxy. Every species came here to buy, sell, and play their political games. Daniel Carter walked through the crowd with a small bag on his shoulder. He was a human, and humans were still new to the galaxy. Most aliens looked at humans the way a person might look at a child trying to join an adult conversation. They tolerated them, but they did not respect them. Daniel did not care about respect. He cared about paying his bills. He worked as a cargo hauler, moving goods from one place to another in his small ship. It was not exciting work, but it was honest. He had just finished a delivery and was heading back to his ship when he heard the scream. It came from a side corridor, away from the main crowd. Most people did not hear it, or they pretended not to hear it, but Daniel heard it clearly. It was a sound of pain and fear. He should have walked away. That was what smart people did in places like this. Getting involved in other people's problems was a good way to get killed. But Daniel was not always smart. He was human, and humans had a bad habit of caring about things that were not their business. He turned and ran toward the sound. The corridor was empty except for 5 figures. 4 of them wore dark masks and carried weapons. They stood over the 5th figure, who lay on the ground in a pool of blue blood. Daniel stopped and stared. The person on the ground was a woman. At least, she looked like a woman. Her skin was pale violet, and her long hair was silver like starlight. She wore clothes that looked expensive and important. But what caught Daniel's attention were the markings on her face. They were ceremonial symbols, painted in gold. He recognized those symbols. Everyone in the galaxy knew them. They belonged to the royal family of the Valanthy Empire. The masked attackers saw Daniel and raised their weapons. One of them shouted something in a language Daniel did not understand. Then they ran, disappearing into a hidden doorway before he could react. Daniel rushed to the woman's side. She was badly hurt. Deep cuts covered her arms and chest, and she was losing blood fast. Her eyes were closed, and her breathing was weak. He grabbed his emergency kit from his bag and started working. He pressed bandages against the worst wounds and injected her with basic medicine. It was not much, but it might keep her alive until help arrived. Within minutes, station security appeared. They were tall aliens with gray skin and 4 arms. They looked at the woman on the ground, and their faces changed. Daniel saw something he did not expect to see in their eyes. Fear. One of the officers spoke into a communicator. Soon, more aliens arrived. Representatives from different species, all dressed in expensive clothes. They gathered in a circle around Daniel and the injured woman, but none of them moved to help. Daniel looked up at them. "She needs a doctor," he said. An alien with blue scales stepped forward. "That is Princess Kiravel Saranthis," he said quietly. "Third heir to the Valanthy throne. She has been declared a traitor by her own family. There is a price on her head." Daniel felt cold. "So what?" "She is dying." The blue alien shook his head slowly. "Helping her means making an enemy of the Valanthy Empire. No species will risk that. The Empire controls half the trade routes in the galaxy. Anyone who helps her will face consequences." Daniel looked around at the gathered crowd. Dozens of aliens, representing civilizations that had existed for thousands of years. Civilizations with advanced technology, vast armies, and great wealth. And not one of them would lift a finger to help a dying woman because they were afraid of losing money. Something hot burned in Daniel's chest. It was anger. He turned back to the princess and continued treating her wounds. His hands were covered in her blue blood, but he did not stop. He heard whispers spreading through the crowd. "What is he doing? He is a human. They do not understand how things work. And, foolish creature, he will bring trouble to his whole species." Daniel ignored them all. He had heard stories from Earth, stories about people who did terrible things because everyone around them stayed silent. He had promised himself long ago that he would never be one of those silent people. The princess opened her eyes. They were deep purple, like the sky at sunset. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was weak and broken. Daniel met her gaze. "Because someone had to," he said simply. She stared at him for a long moment. Then her eyes closed again, and she fell unconscious. 2 security officers finally approached. "Human," one of them said. "You need to leave. This is not your concern." Daniel stood up slowly. The princess's blood dripped from his hands onto the floor. He looked at the officer with steady eyes. "I am taking her to my ship," he said. "I will get her proper medical care." "That is unwise. The Valanthi Empire will—" "I do not care what the Valanthi Empire will do," Daniel interrupted. "This woman is hurt. I am going to help her. You can either get out of my way, or you can try to stop me. But I warn you, I am having a very bad day, and I am not in the mood to be reasonable." The officers looked at each other. They could have stopped him easily. Finally, they stepped aside. Daniel lifted the princess carefully in his arms. She was light, lighter than he expected. He carried her through the silent crowd, past all the powerful aliens, who watched with shock and disbelief. A human, they thought. A member of the youngest species in the galaxy. And he dared to do what none of them would. Daniel did not look back. He walked to his ship, the Wandering Hope, and carried the princess inside. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if he had just saved a life or destroyed his own, but he knew one thing for certain. He had made his choice. The Wandering Hope was not a big ship. It had a small cockpit, a cargo hold, a tiny kitchen, and 2 rooms for sleeping. Daniel had called it home for 3 years. Now it also held an alien princess who was wanted for treason. Daniel sat beside her bed and watched her breathe. The medicine had stopped the bleeding, but she was still very weak. Her violet skin had turned pale, almost gray. She needed special nutrients that humans did not have. He searched through his computer for information about Valanthi biology. The articles told him that her species healed faster than humans, but they needed certain rare plants to recover from serious injuries. These plants came from distant worlds and cost a fortune. Daniel checked his bank account. He had enough money to survive for 2 months, barely enough to buy food and fuel, not enough to buy rare alien medicine. He bought it anyway. The black market traders on Nexus Prime asked no questions. They took his credits and gave him small packages wrapped in dark paper. Daniel did not know if they recognized the princess. He did not care. He returned to his ship and prepared the medicine exactly as the instructions said. For 3 days, the princess slept. Daniel stayed beside her, changing her bandages, giving her medicine, and making sure she kept breathing. He barely slept himself. When he closed his eyes, he saw the masked attackers and wondered if they would come for him next. On the 4th day, she woke up. Her purple eyes opened slowly, like someone waking from a deep dream. She looked around the small room with confusion. Then her gaze found Daniel, and she remembered. "You," she said. Her voice was still weak, but stronger than before. "The human from the station." Daniel nodded. "How do you feel?" She tried to sit up and winced in pain. Daniel gently pushed her back down. "Do not move too much," he said. "Your wounds are healing, but you need rest." The princess stared at him with an expression he could not read. "Why did you help me? You know who I am. You know what they say about me." "I know you were dying on the floor while everyone watched," Daniel said. "That is all I needed to know." She was silent for a long moment. Then, she said, "My name is Kiravel. Kiravel Soranthus, and I am not a traitor." Daniel pulled a chair closer and sat down. "Tell me what happened." And she told him everything. Her father, the emperor, had been a good ruler. He believed in justice and fairness. But her eldest brother, Crown Prince Velos, was different. Velos was cruel and hungry for power. He grew tired of waiting for their father to die. 6 months ago, the emperor was poisoned. The doctors said it was a rare disease, but Kiravel did not believe them. She investigated secretly and found the truth. Velos had paid someone to poison their father. She found recordings, documents, and witnesses. When she tried to show this evidence to the royal council, Velos moved faster. He accused her of treason, claiming she had plotted to kill their father herself. He showed fake evidence that he had prepared in advance. The council believed him. Why would a crown prince lie about his own sister? Kiravel was stripped of her titles and forced to run. Velos sent assassins after her. The attack on Nexus Prime was the closest they had come to killing her. The evidence is still hidden, she said. I stored it in a secure vault on my homeworld before I escaped. If I could reach it and show it to the Interstellar Council, everyone would know the truth. But I cannot get close to my planet. My brother controls everything. Daniel listened quietly. When she finished, he asked, "What about other species? Other governments? Someone must be willing to help you." Kiravel laughed bitterly. You do not understand how the galaxy works, human. The Valanthi Empire is powerful. We control trade routes, resources, and military alliances. No species will risk angering my brother, even if they know I am innocent. They call it strategic non-interference. I call it cowardice. Daniel thought about her words. He thought about the crowd on Nexus Prime. All those powerful aliens who stood and watched while she bled. Is everyone in the galaxy like that? He asked. Kiravel looked at him curiously. Like what? Afraid to do the right thing. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she asked, why are humans different? I have met many species in my life. None of them would have done what you did. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Yet you helped me anyway. I do not understand. Daniel smiled slightly. Humans have a complicated history, he said. We have done terrible things to each other. Wars, cruelty, injustice. But we also learned from our mistakes. We learned that staying silent while evil happens makes you part of that evil. We learned that one person standing up can inspire others to stand up too. That sounds like a weakness, Kiravel said. Caring about strangers. Risking yourself for people you do not know. Maybe it is, Daniel admitted. But it is also our greatest strength. We are not the smartest species in the galaxy. We are not the strongest or the fastest. But we look after each other, and we do not abandon people who need help. Kiravel studied his face as if she was seeing something for the first time. You are a strange creature, Daniel Carter. I have been called worse. A small smile touched her lips. It was the first time he had seen her smile. Their moment of peace did not last long. Daniel's computer beeped with an urgent message. He checked it and felt his stomach drop. His trading license had been revoked. His ship was flagged as a vessel of interest. Bounty hunters, across 3 sectors, were looking for him. The Valanthi Empire had made its move. Daniel's communicator buzzed. It was Kevin Brooks, an old friend who ran a small transport company. Kevin's face appeared on the screen, looking worried. Daniel, what did you do? Kevin asked. There are people asking about you everywhere. Dangerous people. I helped someone, Daniel said simply. The Valanthi princess? Are you crazy? Daniel, you need to abandon her and disappear. Maybe the Empire will forget about you. Daniel looked at Kiravel, who was listening silently. Her purple eyes met his. I cannot do that, Kevin, Daniel said. Kevin sighed heavily. I was afraid you would say that. You always were. Stubborn. Just like all of us, I suppose. He paused. Be careful, my friend. And if you need anything, let me know. I mean it. The screen went dark. Kiravel watched Daniel with a new expression. It was something close to wonder. Your friend, she said. He would help you, even knowing the danger? Yes, Daniel said. That is what friends do. Kiravel was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. I have never had a friend like that, she said. In the royal court, everyone is looking for advantage. Trust is a tool to be used. I never knew anything different. Daniel sat back in his chair. Well, you know something different now. Outside the window, stars drifted slowly past. Somewhere out there, hunters were searching for them. An empire wanted them dead. The odds were against them in every possible way. But for the first time since her nightmare began, Kiravel felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Crown Prince Velos sat on his golden throne and listened to the report. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with cold fire. She still lives, he said quietly. The words hung in the air like poison. The messenger trembled before him. Yes, my prince. A human took her from Nexus Prime. Our agents lost track of them. A human. Velos leaned forward. One human stopped my assassins and stole my sister from under the noses of 1,000 witnesses. Is that what you are telling me? The human acted without warning, my prince. No one expected. I do not want excuses. Velos stood up slowly. He was tall and thin, with skin darker than his sister's and eyes like black ice. I want my sister dead. I want this human dead. I want everyone who helped them dead. He turned to a figure standing in the shadows. Commander Draxus, I am giving you this task. Do not fail me. The figure stepped forward into the light. Commander Draxus was a legend among the Valanthi. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with muscles like stone and scars covering his face. He had served the royal family for 40 years and had never failed a mission. His enemies called him the Ghost of Death. Draxus bowed his head. They will be found, my prince, and they will be destroyed. Far across the galaxy, Daniel and Kiravel moved from hiding place to hiding place. They could not stay in one location for more than a few days. Daniel used every trick he knew to avoid detection. He changed his ship's signal codes, traveled through empty space routes, and traded with smugglers who asked no questions. But it was not enough. The hunters were getting closer. One night, while Kiravel slept, Daniel sent a message to Kevin Brooks. He asked if Kevin knew anyone who could help them. Kevin's response came quickly. I put the word out to other humans in this sector. Some of them want to help. Be careful. Daniel. These are dangerous times. Daniel stared at the message. Other humans wanted to help. He had not expected that. Over the next few days, messages started arriving from people he had never met. Amy Grant, a doctor working on a mining colony, offered them safe harbor if they needed medical supplies. Eric Cole, an engineer at a refueling station, sent them fake ship codes to hide their identity. Megan Clark, who worked in communications for a trading company, started intercepting Valanthi military messages and warning them of danger. These people had nothing to gain. Some of them lived comfortable lives that would be destroyed if the Valanthi discovered their help. But they offered anyway. Kiravel watched Daniel read the messages with growing confusion. I do not understand, she said. These humans do not know you. They do not know me. Why would they risk everything for strangers? Daniel smiled. Because that is who we are. Ended. That is not an answer. Maybe not. Daniel turned to face her. But think about it this way. Every human in the galaxy knows what it feels like to be small, to be looked down on by more powerful species. We stick together because we have to, because no one else will stick with us. But this is different, Kiravel argued. You are not helping another human. You are helping me. An alien. A Valanthi. My people have never shown kindness to humanity. Daniel shrugged. When someone needs help, we do not check their species first. Kiravel shook her head slowly. Your people are either very brave or very foolish? Probably both, Daniel admitted. The next message was not good news. It came from Kevin Brooks, and his face was pale with fear. Daniel, I need to tell you something. Commander Draxus caught me 2 days ago. He wanted to know where you were. I did not tell him anything. I swear. I did not. Kevin's face showed bruises and cuts. His left eye was swollen shut. Daniel felt sick, looking at him. He hurt you, Daniel said. It does not matter. What matters is that Draxus is close. He knows you are in this sector. He will find you soon. Kevin tried to smile, but it looked painful. Do not let this be for nothing, my friend. Do not let that monster win. The message ended. Daniel sat in silence. His hands were shaking. Kevin had been tortured because of him. An innocent man had suffered because Daniel chose to help a stranger. Kiravel watched him quietly. Finally, she said, "Your friend is very brave. He should not have had to be brave." Daniel replied. His voice was rough with anger. "This is my fault. If I had not helped you, then I would be dead," Kiravel interrupted. "And Draxus would still be hurting innocent people. He does it for my brother all the time. Your friend was not hurt because of you. He was hurt because evil men exist. The only question is whether good men will stand against them." Daniel looked at her. She sounded different now. Stronger. More certain. "We cannot keep running forever," he said. "No," Kiravel agreed. "We cannot." An idea had been forming in Daniel's mind. A crazy idea. Impossible. Probably. But the more he thought about it, the more it seemed like their only chance. "The evidence against your brother," he said. "It is on your homeworld. In a vault. Yes. But my homeworld is surrounded by the strongest defenses in the galaxy. No alien ship has ever reached the surface without permission." "What if we had a distraction?" Kiravel raised an eyebrow. "What kind of distraction?" Daniel pulled up a map of Valanthi space on his computer. It showed trade routes, military stations, and patrol paths. "Your brother controls a lot of territory," Daniel said. "But he cannot watch everything at once. If something happened at multiple locations at the same time, his forces would have to spread thin." "Something like what?" Daniel smiled grimly. "I have been talking to humans across this sector. Traders, engineers, pilots. They are all willing to help. What if they all caused small problems at the same time? Nothing dangerous. Just delays, malfunctions, confusion." Kiravel stared at him. "You want to organize humans across the galaxy to create chaos in Valanthi space?" "Yes, that is insane. Probably. The Empire would be furious. They could punish all humans for this." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know. That is why I am going to ask everyone if they are willing. No one will be forced. But I think they will say yes." "Why? Why would they take such a risk?" Daniel thought about Kevin's bruised face. He thought about the crowd on Nexus Prime who watched Kiravel bleed. He thought about every time humans had stood against injustice, even when it cost them everything. "Because some things are worth fighting for," he said. "And some enemies need to be fought, no matter the cost." Kiravel was silent for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his hand. "You are not like anyone I have ever known, Daniel Carter," she said. "And neither are your people." Daniel began sending messages. One by one, humans across the galaxy responded. They knew the risks. They knew what could happen to them. Every single one of them said yes. The storm was gathering, and it was made of human hearts. The day of the mission arrived. 63 humans across Valanthi space waited for Daniel's signal. They were truck drivers, mechanics, cooks, clerks, and pilots. None of them were soldiers. None of them had special training. They were ordinary people who had decided to do something extraordinary. Daniel sat in the cockpit of the Wandering Hope, looking at the distant glow of the Valanthi homeworld. It was a beautiful planet, covered in purple forests and silver oceans. It was also the most heavily guarded place in the galaxy. Kiravel sat beside him, dressed in simple clothes that hid her royal markings. Her wounds had healed, but she still looked tired. Running for so long had worn her down. "Are you ready?" Daniel asked. "No," she admitted. "I am terrified. But I have been terrified for months. It has not stopped me yet," Daniel smiled. "That is the best kind of courage." He opened a communication channel and spoke 3 words. "Light the fire." Across Valanthi space, chaos erupted. On a trade station near the border, Amy Grant accidentally released a container of medical supplies in the main corridor. The cleanup blocked traffic for 2 hours. Eric Cole, at his refueling station, reported a critical malfunction in the fuel systems. All ships had to wait for inspection. Megan Clark sent fake emergency signals from 3 different locations, forcing patrol ships to investigate. Dozens of similar incidents happened at the same time. None of them were violent. None of them caused permanent damage. But together, they created confusion throughout the Empire. Commanders shouted at each other. Ships rushed from one crisis to another. The defense network around the homeworld had to send reinforcements to distant locations. For a few precious hours, there was a gap in the planetary defenses. Daniel flew the Wandering Hope through that gap. It was the most stressful flight of his life. Warning alarms screamed at him. Defense satellites swept their sensors across his path. Any moment, he expected to be discovered and destroyed. But luck was with him. Or perhaps, it was the sacrifice of all those humans. Creating distractions, they reached the planet's atmosphere and descended toward a mountainous region far from the main cities. Kiravel guided him to a hidden location. A cave entrance that looked natural, but hid something much more valuable. "The vault is inside," she said. "I will need 10 minutes to access the evidence and prepare it for transmission." Daniel landed the ship and powered down most systems to avoid detection. "I will wait here." "Go quickly." Kiravel hesitated at the door. "Daniel, if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. Go." She nodded and disappeared into the darkness. Daniel waited. The minutes felt like hours. He watched his sensors for any sign of approaching ships. For a while, everything was quiet. Then a massive shadow blocked out the sun. A Valanthi warship descended from the sky, its weapons glowing with deadly light. It was not just any warship. Daniel recognized the markings. It was the personal ship of Commander Draxus. They had been found. Daniel's communicator crackled. A cold voice spoke. "Human, I know you are there. Surrender the princess, and I will make your death quick." Daniel did not respond. Instead, he ran from the cockpit toward the cave entrance. He had to warn Kiravel. He had to give her time. He reached the cave just as Draxus's shuttle landed nearby. The commander stepped out, followed by a dozen armed soldiers. Draxus was even more terrifying in person. His eyes were like dead stars, empty of any warmth or mercy. "You are brave, human," Draxus said. "Foolish, but brave. Where is the princess?" Daniel stood in front of the cave entrance, blocking the way. "She is not here. I dropped her off somewhere else. This is a trap to waste your time." Draxus laughed softly. "You are lying. I can see it in your eyes." He gestured to his soldiers. "Search the cave." Daniel knew he could not stop them. He was one man with no weapons against trained warriors, but he could slow them down. He charged at Draxus. The commander moved like lightning. One moment Daniel was running forward. The next moment he was flying backward, crashing into the rocky ground. Pain exploded through his body. He tried to get up, but Draxus kicked him in the ribs, and he felt something crack. "Pathetic," Draxus said. "Is this the best humanity can offer?" Daniel spat blood onto the ground. Then, slowly, painfully, he pushed himself back to his feet. Draxus tilted his head, looking curious. You cannot win. You know this. Why do you keep fighting? Because that is what humans do, Daniel whispered. He attacked again. Draxus dodged easily and struck him across the face. Daniel fell again. His vision was blurry. His whole body screamed with pain. But he got up again, and again, and again. Each time Draxus knocked him down, Daniel rose once more. His face was covered in blood. His legs could barely hold him, but he refused to stay on the ground. Draxus stopped attacking. For the first time, something other than contempt appeared in his eyes. It was confusion, perhaps even a small amount of respect. You are already broken, Draxus said. You cannot possibly hurt me. Why do you not give up? Daniel laughed through broken lips. I am not trying to hurt you. I am trying to give her time. Draxus's eyes widened. He spun toward the cave entrance just as a brilliant light flashed from inside. Kiravel emerged, holding a small device in her hand. Her eyes were fierce with triumph. It is done, she said. The evidence is broadcasting to every communication hub in the galaxy. Every member of the Interstellar Council will see it. Every news network will receive it. The truth about my brother cannot be hidden anymore. Draxus stared at her. For a moment, he did nothing. Then, he grabbed Daniel by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Stop the transmission, he commanded, or I will kill him. Kiravel shook her head. It is too late. The transmission cannot be stopped. In a few minutes, everyone will know that Velos murdered our father. Then this human dies for nothing. Daniel struggled to breathe. Draxus's grip was like iron. Dark spots appeared in his vision. Kiravel stepped forward. If you kill him, you kill the only chance for peace. I am not threatening you, Commander. I am telling you the truth. This human has proven that compassion exists in the galaxy. If you destroy that proof, you destroy hope itself. Is that what you want your legacy to be? Quote, Draxus hesitated. His hand trembled slightly. You served my father. Kiravel continued. I know you did. You were loyal to him. Are you loyal to his murderer? For a long moment, nothing moved. The wind blew cold across the mountains. Then Draxus released Daniel. Daniel collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. He looked up at the commander with surprise. Draxus stared at his own hands as if seeing them for the first time. I have spent my whole life following orders, he said quietly. I never asked if those orders were just. I see. I see. I see. He looked at Kiravel with something strange in his eyes. It might have been shame. I did not know the truth about your brother, he said. I should have looked harder. I should have questioned more. He straightened his back and stood at attention. Princess Kiravel, I failed your father. I will not fail you. He turned to his soldiers. Stand down. We are returning to the homeworld. The princess is under my protection. My knight. And the princess, we will man. My knight, we will man too. We will mented I president. My knight, we will mented I president. We will mented I president. And we will mented I president. And we will mented I president. The soldiers looked confused, but they obeyed. They had been trained to follow Commander Draxus without question. Daniel lay on the cold ground, bleeding and broken, but alive. Kiravel knelt beside him, tears in her purple eyes. You fool, she whispered. You wonderful, stubborn fool. Daniel managed a weak smile. Did we win? Kiravel laughed through her tears. Above them, the stars glittered in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, 63 humans waited to hear what had happened. They did not know if their sacrifice had been worth it. Soon, they would find out that it had changed everything. The evidence spread through the galaxy like wildfire. News networks played the recordings of Crown Prince Velos admitting to the murder of his father. Documents showed the bribes he had paid and the lies he had told. Witnesses came forward with their testimonies, finally free to speak the truth without fear. The Interstellar Council held an emergency session. Representatives from every major species watched in horror as the truth was revealed. The Valanthi Empire, which had seemed so stable and powerful, was led by a monster. On the Valanthi homeworld, the noble families withdrew their support from Velos one by one. Without their backing, he had no power. His own guards arrested him before he could escape. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Velos sat in chains before the same council that had once believed his lies. He tried to defend himself, but there was nothing he could say. The evidence was clear. He was found guilty of murder, treason, and attempted genocide against his own family. The sentence was life imprisonment in the darkest cell of the royal dungeon. He would never see the sun again. Princess Kiravel watched the verdict from a balcony overlooking the capital city. Crowds filled the streets below, celebrating the fall of a tyrant. Banners flew with her family's true colors, the colors her father had loved. She did not feel joy. She felt relief, and sadness, and exhaustion. The fight had taken so much from her. But it was finally over. The council offered her the throne. She was the only legitimate heir remaining, and the people loved her for exposing the truth. She could have been empress within days. She refused. The council members stared at her with confusion. "Your Highness," one of them said, "your people need a leader. Who else could take the throne?" Kiravel smiled softly. "I have learned many things in the past months. I have learned that I do not truly understand what it means to lead. I grew up in a palace, surrounded by politics and manipulation. I thought that was how the universe worked." She paused, thinking of Daniel and his stubborn kindness. "Then, I met people who showed me something different. They taught me that real leadership is not about power or authority. It is about caring for others, even when it costs you everything. I am not ready to be that kind of leader yet." "Then what will you do?" "I will travel," Kiravel said. "I will visit other worlds and learn from other species. I want to understand why some civilizations choose fear while others choose compassion. And when I have learned enough, I will return and try to build something better." The council accepted her decision, though they did not understand it. They appointed a temporary government to manage affairs until she was ready. Kiravel had one more task to complete before she left. Daniel Carter lay in a medical bed on a Valanthi healing ship. The doctors had repaired his broken bones and healed his wounds, but he was still weak. When Kiravel entered his room, he tried to sit up, then winced and fell back. "Do not move," she said, sitting in a chair beside him. "You have earned the right to rest." Daniel laughed weakly. "I feel like I was hit by a spaceship." "You fought Commander Draxus alone," Kiravel reminded him. "That is impressive for any warrior, let alone a human cargo hauler." I did not fight him. I just refused to stay down." Daniel looked at her with tired eyes. "Did it work? Is your brother finished?" "He is in prison. He will never hurt anyone again." Kiravel took his hand gently. "Because of you. Because of your friends. Because humans decided that a stranger's life was worth fighting for." Daniel shook his head. "I just did what anyone would do." "No." Kiravel's voice was firm. "I have traveled across 1,000 worlds. I have met hundreds of species. None of them would have done what you did. What humans call ordinary decency is, in fact, extraordinary. You do not realize how special you are." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What happens now?" "I refuse the throne," Kiravel said. "For now, at least. I want to learn more about the galaxy before I try to lead it. And I want to start by learning more about humanity." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Your species is young. You have no great empire, no vast armies, no ancient wisdom. But you have something more valuable. You have hearts that care about strangers. You have courage that does not calculate the odds. The galaxy needs more of that." She stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars stretched across the endless dark. The Interstellar Council is already changing, she said. Several species have approached the human delegation with offers of alliance. They were impressed by what your people did. They want to learn from you. 17.6. Their work. Daniel smiled. We are not that special. We just try to do the right thing. That is what makes you special. Kiravel turned back to face him. The galaxy has operated on fear and self-interest for thousands of years. It will not change overnight. But it can change. You proved that. Before she left, she gave Daniel a small gift. It was a medal. Shaped like a star. Made from the same metal as the Valanthi crown. It was the highest honor her people could give to a non-Valanthi. Commander Draxus wanted you to have this, she said. He said you earned it when you refused to stay down. He called it a warrior's respect. Daniel held the medal carefully. It felt heavy in his hands. Heavy with meaning. 3 months later, Daniel was back on his ship, the Wandering Hope, flying through the stars he loved. His injuries had healed completely. His trading license had been restored, along with a formal apology from the Valanthi government. He was even offered a job as a diplomatic advisor, but he turned it down. He preferred his simple life. Flying cargo, visiting new places, meeting new people. Some things did not need to change. His communicator buzzed. Kevin Brooks appeared on the screen, grinning widely. The bruises on his face had faded, leaving only faint scars. Daniel, you will not believe this, Kevin said. I just got 3 new contracts from Valanthi merchants. They specifically asked for human haulers. Said they trusted us more than any other species. Daniel laughed. That is a first. It is a new galaxy out there, my friend. People are looking at humans differently now. All because you decided to help a dying princess. Kevin paused. Are you happy with how things turned out? Daniel thought about the question. He thought about the scared woman bleeding on the floor of a space station. He thought about the crowd that watched and did nothing. He thought about all the humans who risked everything to help a stranger. I did not do it to be happy, he said finally. I did it because it was right. Happiness is just a bonus. Kevin nodded slowly. You are a strange man, Daniel Carter. But I am glad you are my friend. The screen went dark. Daniel leaned back in his chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Kiravel was traveling, learning, growing. Somewhere, humans were building new friendships with species that had once ignored them. Somewhere, the galaxy was slowly becoming a better place. It would not happen quickly. There would be setbacks and failures. Old habits would be hard to break. But the first step had been taken. One human had stood beside an injured princess when no one else would. And that single act of kindness had changed everything. Daniel smiled and set a course for his next destination. The universe was waiting.